Okay, call the regular city council meeting of Tuesday, December 26, 2023 order. Roll call please.
Scott. Baumgart.
Here.
Grant. Here. Kramer. Here. Sims.
Here. Everybody please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item up is a consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look over the consent agenda? If so, is there a motion to approve?
Make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Crane, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Graham. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next thing is guest and citizens forum. Anybody in the audience want to address the council? Okay. Next item is reports from staff. City Administrator Lamb.
So we haven't received any applications for the golf course manager at this time. It was reopened, so anyone interested in applying, I have RFP still at the clerk's office, I suggest you pick one up. I spoke with Alex Markiot regarding the hockey fees down at the arena. That was one issue that we talked about. They do have the ability to pay $110 per hour rather than $10 per guy, which was offered to them. However, they never had anyone who would step up to organize it. And so, Al did say that he would look at organizing that so the guys could just pay that $110 an hour and then he could collect from each of the guys skating that night, so. There was an email that went out about pickleball fees. I haven't received any firm responses from members of the council regarding that. So if you have strong feelings one way or another about the pickleball fees, go ahead and reach out to me and we can get that back on the agenda. If I don't hear anything, I will leave it off. And then, lastly, Tom Kelly with Walker Drew and Hani was at our office on Friday to review the ambulance accounting accounts. He was unable to also get them to balance. And so the reporting he has right now through the month of October shows them between $3,000 and $9,000 off. It's difficult to pin down exactly where that's at. And so I'm not entirely sure what the council expects from us as far as accounting numbers from the ambulance service. Reports we're getting from the billing company, obviously it's December, are not cutting it as far as financials go. So that's all I have today.
Thank you. East Range PD Chief Surveyor.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I know a few months back, the council approved, the county requested changing the name of County Road 666. They made that change to County Road 665, but better now known as Kensington Drive. So Kensington, it used to kind of end in no man's land by Hampshire, is going to continue right out to New Range Copper. That'll be their new address. And then there's a couple of residences along that corridor that they've already been switched. So it's in GSI 911. So Kensington will all run from the Lucky 7 all the way out to the private property at the end of the road. So those 666 signs will be changed out, coming down, the sign company couldn't give us a real firm date. The other thing, unfortunately, we had some damage. I know some of you been out and looked at the solar array that Minnesota Power put up out there. And with that, you remember our ATV and snowmobile trail used to run right through there. We had some damage, somebody threw some rocks, damaged some panels. We don't have a dollar estimate, but I can strongly tell you the conversation with Minnesota Power was that we're not happy with that. I think Stu can back me up on that. And, you know, I believe aside from the manholes, there's thousands of dollars to reroute that trail. We're pretty lucky to cut across that section, because that's all the weed. So, I've talked to the range, snowmobile club members, and they're also aware of what went on. And, we're trying to meet again with Lasky and talk about some cameras and different things that we can do. But that trail runs right along the fence line and right along the building. It's a beautiful trail. But if we continue to have problems out there, there's a few meetings. So if anybody has any information, certainly just call the PD. Everything looked to us is simply just grabbing rocks off the trail and throwing it. And it's certainly dangerous. I mean, they reassured us that it's very dangerous to be throwing rocks at those and everything that's going on with their electrical lines. So yeah, a little disappointing, just with all the hard work we watched to get that trail groomed and you know, established and you know, within months, we're back at it. So still seeing a lot of ATVs and side by sides with the weather. Yeah, so.
Thank you.
I'll comment on that a little, there was no indication, it was definitely thrown rocks, it wasn't thrown
Yeah.
up from the ATV or anything like that.
Right. So, and then as we investigate a little bit further, I mean, if anybody's been out there, it's certainly an impressive thing to look at and see. There was rocks further down and, you know, stuff. So we eliminate what we think can get kicked up through the chain link fence. And then we also look, because before they seeded and stuff, you know, there wasn't any rock a certain size because it was produced material that they brought in. So there's been, it doesn't look like just one instance. It looks like they've been trying to put a while, so.
And I'll say from the trail perspective, it's a lot of swamp there, that's kind of our limited access through there. If they do revoke their easement, we would be disconnected from Aurora and all the rest of the trail system that way, so. You see people out there messing around, say something, or
Yeah.
hopefully we can prevent this from getting shut down.
Okay, thank you. Fire Chief Holtz?
I'd just like to thank Jared Damon, retired, put 21 years in. So I'd like to thank Jared for his years of service. I know 2023 is not completely over yet, but we had 27 fire calls, 10 of them were structure fires, 3 were carbon monoxide. 5 were motor vehicle accidents, 3 were rescues, ATV, snowmobile, 1 hazmat, and 5 miscellaneous, which are lines down that storm. Brought a majority of the calls to the 5. That's all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can we get a letter of appreciation and thank you to Jared for his years of service? City Attorney Brumfeld.
Mayor and council just working on trying to get that full closing done, that full building, so we're working on that. So get that done by Friday. That's all I'm working on right now.
Okay. Reports from elected officials, Councilor Kramer,
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilor Graham,
Nothing to report tonight.
Councilor Border,
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilor Scott. I received a call from Merle Sampson, he owns the Carefree Assisted Living Facilities in the area, he also owns the one in White Lakes. He wanted me to get the word out that his intentions are by sometime in January or early February. that he plans on opening up at least one wing. I guess, Tony, you had brought it up at the firemen's meeting. But sounds like he has people in place to, work so his intentions are to get one wing open. He's got a waiting list in Aurora that he can't fulfill there, so his intentions, which is nice, because that's a beautiful building that's been sitting up there for a long time, empty, so. Nice to see that back in operation. That's all I have. Moving on, old business. 10.1 resolution 2023-037, updating part-time, temporary, and seasonal wages.
And the only change from last time was updating, Brianna, Director Olmsted, she had some changes.
Yep, to the EMT and paramedic transfer rates,
Yeah.
they are now listed this time.
And this all came about for the sick and safe time.
Yes, we pass a resolution annually to update part-time wages, but we had to move employees from stipend employees to hourly employees to comply with residency.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Council Kramer, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Council Borger. Is there any further discussion?
I'll abstain.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is 11.1. This is a resolution 2023-038, appointing election judges for the 2024 presidential nomination primary, and general elections.
This is a resolution you pass annually, well, biannually, whenever you have an election, to hire those election judges.
If somebody's interested in being an election judge, how would they?
They can reach out to the clerk's office. We do have a full roster at this time, but we do keep a waiting list and keep them trained.
There's no set limit, we just, how long you can be a judge?
As long as you maintain the training, you can continue to be a judge. It is a very, very long day. So, you know, they open the polls and then they close them and finish counting. And then there's a couple other days of training in there, but you're grateful for what they do for us.
So is there a motion to approve resolution 2023-038, appointing the following election judges?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Graham, is there support?
I'll support that.
Supported by Councilor Scott, is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.2. This is the resolution 2023-039. Whereas the city of Hoyt Lakes is generally authorized to accept donations of real and personal property pursuant to Minnesota statutes 465.03 for the benefit of its citizens, and specifically authorized to accept gifts. Whereas Water Carnival Committee has donated the following amount to the city and has requested the following use. Requested use is for a midway shelter renovation in the amount of $10,000. All such donations have been contributed to the city for the benefit of its citizens as allowed by law. Whereas the city council finds that it is appropriate to accept the donations offered. Is there a motion to approve this donation?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Borgard, is there support? I'll support that. Is there any further discussion?
I would just like to thank the Water Carnival community. All the members, they do a lot of work for the city, bring a lot of tourism here. And for them to help out with the shelter renovation as well. Just a big thank you to all the work that goes up to that.
I agree with you 100%, Stuart. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11.3, this is the joint and cooperative agreement to provide full-time public safety services to the city of White Lakes and Aurora. This is the cooperative agreement for the East Range PD. Everybody had a chance to look this over.
What were the changes compared to last year?
The changes include the date and the amounts, so the increase to the contract for each of the communities went up, which we've already budgeted for. So we just are required to have the current contract on file for each year of service.
With those changes, is there a motion to approve?
I guess just looking at that, I have a question. Is there a reason why there's a roughly $100,000 difference between one and the
Yes, based on population.
other?
There's still no interest in town of Lake joining this?
We talked about it a little bit, I think they were thinking maybe the East Range Joint Powers Board, and we have all the stakeholders together, would be the right approach to that. We are certainly willing to sit down at any time, the township would be interested in coming on board, you know. Initially, we did, and we remember back when we put it together, they reassured us that the county sheriff's department, so anybody that isn't familiar, if you don't have your own police department, the county sheriffs in your area are obligated to answer 911 emergency calls. So anything over and above just answering the 911 emergency calls would have to be a contractual. So we have mutual aid with the township and the sheriff's department. But I think we're unique in the sense that as we travel between Aurora and White Lakes, we're bouncing in and out of our service area and into the township. And we feel that, I would say, guessing, 70% of the townwide population is probably in a 4-mile radius of Aurora or White Lakes. So it doesn't take much to think that if something serious breaks out in the township, we respond via mutual aid. We're normally the first to go out there. Now, the county does have an obligation to come back in and provide those services, but typically if they're responding from Virginia, we've already got the situation under control. So they don't contribute anything to the East Range Police Department other than we share mutual aid agreements. But a lot of times, we are responding to calls and the first one there. So if you look on the map, it is unique in the sense that we're a decent distance, so their nearest office is in Virginia, and they support their surrounding area of Virginia. And, you know, a call came in right now, the domestic across from the hospital, it's common sense would probably tell you that these trains go to the first. So, it'd be nice if the town of White would take a look at that, and we can sit down and have some talks on what that looks like. But it's something that, you know, we've tried multiple times to initiate. And, of course, there's a cost of that, so there hasn't. There's a real great motivating factor to change that, because we have the mutual aid agreement. And we're not able to build the sheriff's department or able for those services because of mutual aid. And it's not a East Range PD versus sheriff's deputies, it's a location, because they do provide us with mutual aid on multiple times. But when you talk about a 911 call that needs immediate attention, you're probably there unless you catch one of their patrol deputies come through the first squad. And all I've simply asked is have somebody take an unbiased look at it and figure out exactly, you know, what that looks like, especially moving. It's no secret on a short time, right? Probably a year, maybe. And this is something that I really think would benefit the town, but certainly the people who live in the town. Now, Brandon, like you said, we bought population for our grid. We're willing and open-minded to take a look at everything. We understand your population the housing isn't as close as it is in our community. But at least sit down at the table, keep an open mind and say, hey, how do we best serve, you know, our township? That's all it has. I get along great, I have a great rapport with the sheriffs, the undersheriffs, and a lot of the deputies. It's not about what they do, they have some excellent officers, but we are typically there well before they get. It's that simple. So, that's my take. So it's nice that you can see I can speak a little more freely because that date's getting closer and closer, but yeah. I mean, East Range Joint Powers, you have, Wabick, Illinois, Illinois, it's all the representatives are there. I think that's a great format to start them discussions, and I think you bring it up, Dave, every time you're at a meeting, until we get somebody to come in. I mean, we can take a look at those numbers, and without even looking into them, I can tell you what the numbers show. So,
I was brought up at our strategic planning, meeting, they had a couple day session where it was a 3-year planning for East Range Joint Public Safety, or East Range Joint Powers Board. I think the downfall for them is that there's citizens set the levy, so if they're not paying for something now, they're gonna balk at having to pay for something down the road. And with our mutual aid agreements, we're obligated to be there. So they aren't gonna really see a change, and I think that's the hurdle, trying to get over that, to see any change on our end.
but every time, the East Range Squad initiates and responds with mutual aid, they're all 911 calls, and those are the ones where, typically potential for bad things to happen, so, we're, from a liability standpoint, the type of calls, we're not responding to barking dogs or loud music in the middle of the day, or, ones we're responding to, puts liability back on the public safety board for sure,
Right.
so.
No, it's definitely something that needs to be looked at for further discussion.
Yeah, continue, but like I said, I know we bring it up,
Continue bringing it up, but
yeah.
I don't see a change anytime soon, unfortunately.
all right, 11-4.
Well, you have to pass them.
Sorry, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the East Range Joint Powers Agreement with the East Range PD
I'll
for
make that motion.
2024? Motion made by Councilor Borger, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Kramer. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11-4, Wasabi Community TV contract. And that's for 2023.
Yep, so, Steve Friendly got me the contract for 2023. What he's been doing is pulling the YouTube videos off and putting them on channel 2. And so 2023 will make it so we can pay him for this year, and 2024, the next contract up will make it so we can pay for next year.
All right, is there a motion to approve the 2023 Wasabi Community TV contract?
Make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Graham, is there support? Supported by Councilor Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11-5 is the 2024 contract. Are there any changes, Becky? I
No,
don't think so. Same terms.
just
Just different years, so there's a motion to approve the 2025 contract.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Scott, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Kramer. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11-6, to whom it may concern, as of January 1st, 2024, I wish to resign from fire and transition into an EMT only role. It has been a pleasure working as a firefighter over 10 years. And I thank everyone who has helped me succeed in that role. Sincerely, Jennifer Hall. Is there a motion to accept Jen's resignation from the fire department and be on the EMT only?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Council Bordeaux, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Council Kramer. Any further discussion?
I just want to say thank you to Jennifer for her years of service there and look forward to her staying on as DMT and thank her and Perpetual for as long as she stays on that level job.
All right, thanks, Stuart. And the same goes for me. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 11-7, the firefighter Tony House in the city of White Lakes. I'm writing this letter to inform you of my intention of retiring from the White Lakes Fire Department effective December 6, 2023. It has been an honor to serve among some of the most dedicated, kind, and caring people I know. I'm always proud of the work this department does and continues to do. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Jeremy Damon. Do you need a motion on this? Okay. Is there a motion to accept Jeremy's retirement notice?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Scott, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Graham, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 11-8, call for letters of interest for the White Lakes Fire Department Assistant Chief position. With the retirement of Jeremy Damon, there is a vacancy on the leadership team for the White Lakes Fire Department. Mitch, you want to go over this, please?
Oh, you need this memo here?
Yes.
Yeah, and basically, I know that, this happened in a lot of cities because, historically, a lot of cities had, volunteer fire departments that years and years ago, when they were created as like separate legal entities. They were set up as, separate nonprofit corporations, and then along with that, they had a relief association that went along with that, volunteer department entity. What's happened over the years is basically the fire departments themselves in most cities across the state have basically become actual departments of the city government. So while the relief association is really run by the fire department itself and they elect their own officers to the relief association, that election process still takes place where amongst their members, they elect the officers to the relief association. As far as the process of selecting leadership for the department itself, because the fire department really is an actual department of city government like all other departments, it really is up to the city council utilizing their normal hiring process to select, the employees in that department, particularly those who are on the management team in that department. So basically what we have a vacancy come up in one of the leadership positions. The normal process would be we would declare a vacancy in that position, ask for folks to submit letters of interest or letters of application, whatever supporting materials that they want to submit along with their letter of interest or their letter of application, and we would just go through the normal hiring process that we would use to fill vacancies in the city. So there is that historic practice that's happened in a lot of cities over time where the membership they seemingly elect their officers and then bring forward some sort of a recommendation to a city council, but those have really gone by the wayside now. So I think what this is here is, it's really discontinuing that practice and going with a normal hiring procedure.
What you're saying, excuse me, so what you're saying is you wanna go against the in-place city ordinance, correct? Ordinance 532.02 is the appointment process, which is city ordinance, so now you're saying you wanna go against the city ordinance in this aspect? By assumption,
Yeah, so
That ordinance was passed in 1954.
it's still ordinance, right?
Correct. I have
Yes.
asked the fire chief to bring me recommendations to update that.
Yeah. So I'm saying is, are we gonna pass something that changes a new thing as an ordinance?
sure, I mean, we can amend the ordinance or just nullify the ordinance. But I do not recommend that you use an election process for your department. Or for your management team in that department, you should go through the normal.
And why is this also a problem? Been doing it for 54 years or however long. Doing it this way, no, that's a problem. Explain, please.
Is that what you were talking about with the volunteer, how it used to be a volunteer?
Yeah, because it's a normal department of the city, it's a regular department of the city. Most cities have gone away from elections, and have gone to just following the city's normal hiring procedure.
The literature I read, it came from the League of Minnesota Cities. And the recommendation was getting away from the, department themselves doing the voting because of the fact there were lawsuits happening for us communities.
So why wasn't this brought up a long time ago, Dave?
I think it was brought up a couple years ago, about ballots.
So I don't,
In fact, I talked to Tony after the meeting that night when the ballots were read. And I mentioned to him at that time that I thought we had done away with the ballots and we weren't going to do that anymore. And Tony responded that it was just a way to recommend, but it was still a vote. I mean, the ballot said 2024 ballot, and it had the people listed.
Who brought it to? Can you answer
What's that? I saw that when I was there that night. I was at the meeting.
that? Okay.
But then,
So, and I'm fine with that because I sat in that meeting with the league, me and Dave went to. And they say, I guess my biggest thing is how we go about the committee to,
Right, and I want some input from you guys.
because someone might look really good on paper. And that's, I mean, it's the same as like Tim's job, the police chief. I'm sure when you hire, I know in the past when you guys have hired, you guys have used onsite a police chief. I know Pike teacher sat in on interviews. And that would be my recommendation, that we're not just going off of, I know the council has the ultimate say in the end. But bring in people, I know like when we've done hiring for the ambulance, Dr. Peoples came in, just some people who are in those roles.
I personally really like the way we do the EMT hiring process, where we have people from our own department and then people coming over from other departments to provide kind of that unbiased kind of view of who they think should be hired and not hired. So I think if we had some sort of modified EMT hiring process for the fire department, that might be something beneficial, where fire department people do the interview process and then they pick who they want and then they make that recommendation to the council. I think personally that would be my preference, if Tony was there with that or something like that.
Yeah, I just think it's hard to bring people who don't have the fire knowledge to make the decision. I mean, me personally, I want to be hiring as top. I, like, especially in Tim's spot, you're gonna be hiring a police chief, Tim knows that job. I can't tell you what Tim does.
Yeah, so our first phase is just an all interview where we have to ask each candidate the exact same question, and we score them on the 10 scale. And then the board with the scores just decide. That's only one portion, so those candidates that score higher move up to the next one, and then I think that would be one where maybe the fire department has some kind of interview or oral interview with a panel, and then the council makes a recommendation.
part of the problem that I read in the literature from the League of Minnesota Cities was that we're bypassing any veterans preference points, which have to be when you hire somebody.
But we're really not hiring, we're promoting.
Veterans preference points apply to promotions.
Well, then they can just apply that to whatever hiring process the.
Right, for the initial,
And I'm fine with doing it, however,
I'm just saying somehow we gotta protect the city from being involved in a lawsuit. I mean,
yeah, and I'm,
that's the whole idea. We're not trying to pick on anybody or
no, and I'm fine with that.
anybody from being on the department and in a position.
Would you like to revamp the entire hiring process so all departments have this type of thing? Because this is not how we currently hire across the board for full-time employees.
Is there a financial cost to bringing other people from outside onto these boards? To get paid for their times for interviewing and all that?
We typically, yeah, we'll send someone over, they reciprocate, there's no money distribution.
Has litigation ever been threatened against the fire department for how they've done it, for however many years they've done it? 62 years or 52 years?
67.
67? Has there?
Yep.
So what is the discrimination in this case?
Was there?
What's the discrimination that the city's afraid of in this situation?
Well, there's several different things. I mean, you read this, I mean, it's. This is how thick it is. This is just
That's,
fire department management liability issue.
that's illegal or.
This is from the League of Minnesota Cities, who is our insurer for the city. There's many things that, when you read through this, you know, can come back and bite us in the ass.
So what I'm saying now is we have an ordinance in place and now you wanna go against the ordinance. So do we recommend still, and then from this point, everything come up with the situation of how we wanna do it?
I think what I would like to see is we do what we got here in place, but maybe take a look at who sits on this committee. Maybe have a outside, you know, anybody can apply for it and we still need to go through this preferential type thing. That's my understanding of it, Mitch. I don't know if you've been involved in any lawsuits with other cities that you represent? Or issues with the departments?
Well, most of the cities have gone to, you know, more of a standardized hiring process for fire personnel. But, I mean, you know, as far as how you wanna create this committee, I mean, you can look at, for certain hiring situations, you can do it on a case-by-case basis as far as how you want to establish, you know, the panel that would do the interviewing or the scoring, that type of thing. It's, you know, it's really your discretion also. I mean, you do have, I think, kind of a generalized policy or procedure that you utilize here, but if you wanted, you know, basically you kind of a hybrid approach, and have, the panel made up of certain individuals, that's fine too. It's really your discretion to counsel how you are doing.
But we would need to abolish or get rid of that ordinance that says it's coming directly from the department in order to go to this.
Not necessary. No. I mean, the ordinance is so antiquated, I mean, you need to follow modern hiring documents. So we're not gonna follow an antiquated ordinance that potentially puts the city at liability risk if there were some sort of a incorrect decision made on a hiring that could, you know, create liability risk for the city on discrimination. So.
So what you're saying
I
is,
mean, it's fine to clean up the ordinances, there's some antiquated ordinance there, we can just pass an ordinance nullifying it. But, you know, my recommendation is you should follow more modern hiring practices.
Which is what we have in front of us.
Right.
Well, the one in front of us is specifically bringing up the personnel committee. Whereas I think it should be more like an improvement process where it's not personnel committee.
Well, just 2 cents, just add 2 cents, I think it's used to live in the over here, it says the wage should go.
Right.
Policemen have to hire policemen, fire department have to hire department, public works have part of public works, so if you put together a personnel committee, it can't be 4 counselors and then 1 person from the fire department. It should be just the opposite. You should have a liaison probably over that. And still, they make the recommendation, even though it's a city council's choice. But you gotta have the right people that, just like I said, you guys don't know anything about police work or fire department work, or you have to have those people who have that experience in it. That's 2 cents.
I know we can't use ballots, but could we do something to where the members of the department can at least have a portion of that 100-point scale?
No. It needs to be based on
Says who, why is
qualifications.
it just a no?
Because it can't be based on a popularity contest.
It's not.
It needs to be based upon an assessment of qualifications.
It's a recommendation though,
Quali-
they're recommending that this person
Qualified,
could do the job.
I disagree.
qualified people, it's not a personality contest if they're qualified.
It's our asking them on a create a voting situation, but.
Yeah, it's who you trust in them.
Who, I mean, if something happens, Tony's ass is in a big world of crap. So ultimately, he should have no say so on to the council who gets paid whatever, but like Darrell said, you know, it should be, we should be involved in part of it on who we recommend.
Which is what the EMP is currently.
Plus members from other departments.
Right.
That they have to work.
Yeah.
Someone looks good on papers, doesn't mean they're good. I mean, I've worked with many people that look good on paper and they're not half as good at the job they said they were. I mean, as a firefighter, I want someone that I can trust that's gonna make sure I'm safe.
And somebody that shows up all the time.
So for example, when we hired for public utilities and public works, it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was the personnel committee and the supervisor of that department.
Right.
Yeah, so we're, you know, maybe we would do the personnel committee and the
What
supervisor.
is the personnel committee? Who's on the personnel committee for the city of White Lake?
Myself and Deb.
Okay, so I would say one of you guys, because you would want the majority to have the experience with firefighting, correct? That's like me hiring a lawyer. I don't know anything about it other than if you break the law, you go to jail. The legality of stuff.
And you're in, like Tony, you're in on those interviews, right? Too, like if we would have an interview process, you'd be in on the interview process as the supervisor for your department,
I think so.
right?
In the initial hiring.
Like when I
So
got
we've
hired,
never had a promotion process before.
Okay.
So this is all gonna be new, and that's where. Like me, I'd recommend having someone from an outside department come in, whether it be Aurora by Waback, Halo, I mean, is ultimately, that's who we mutual aid with. I'd like to see someone from them come in, I'm fine if it was Dave and Deb and myself and whatever.
So creating more of a panel, like,
Yeah, just someone, some other people that have some general fire knowledge. I mean, because you're going off of. Just my say on the fire side of it, where you have someone else just to kind of back it.
That's perfectly fine as a process. I mean, that's not no problem with that.
Do we need to have a assistant chief by tomorrow? Is this something that we need to get done right away? For any sort of statute or law?
Well, I think what you're gonna do is declare a vacancy in the position, and then, but the action the council needs to do tonight is declare a vacancy in the position, and then direct what the hiring process is gonna look like.
You could also call for letters and then determine the hiring process at the next meeting as well.
So then maybe we can ask for those letters, but
We can ask for the
in the
letter.
meantime, ask for Becky and whoever to talk with Tony about what they want the hiring process to look like, and then bring that before us. So we don't have to debate it for the next hour. Becky and whoever else can talk to Tony and decide on what the hiring process looks like.
Maybe, what I would like to see is Becky and Deb and I and Tony sit down and have this discussion. what you think, you know. I sat on many, hiring for police officers over the years, Tim can attest to that,
Yeah, we had a 5 panel with the same 10 questions.
you know, and they were set up independent, and then they were, from there, it went to a recommendation, and then we interviewed the candidates from there, this whole city council. And that was the process we used, even when it was just White Lakes PD.
Right, and one of the things to keep in mind when you talk veterans preference, you have to apply them at some point during the process. Typically, they're applied, you know, in the initial application from the police standpoint. Then when they get, if they make it to the second round, now we're back to square one. And then, like it was mentioned in Tony, just because you score 210 points and the next guy's 150 doesn't mean the point winner gets it. There's still an area there to make a recommendation of what you think fits best for the department section.
So is council okay if we sit down and we open a call for letters of interest, which I think we're legally obligated to do. And then, we'll set up a date where Tony, Becky, myself, and Deb can sit down and come up with a hiring panel, who's gonna be on that, and then, we'll go from there. Council okay with that?
Yeah, Tony and whoever else wants to sit in.
Would anybody, like to make the recommendation on that?
I guess, I'll just say when you guys are in that meeting, what I think should maybe happen is the personnel committee plus, since we respond to all the same events, Waback, Aurora, and White Lakes, all providing either chief or assistant chief on that committee, and then put a recommendation to the council.
And like Tony, I would think your recommendation would come from input from all your membership as well. I mean, even though there wouldn't be a vote by individual membership, I would think you would talk to your department and they would kind of let you know their thoughts, and that way when you make your recommendation, it considers your whole department's input.
I think usually, Tony, in the past, when we did EMT hires and paramedic hires, that's what we've had, and some of the panels pretty much representatives from the Waback, Aurora, the surrounding areas already, so.
All right, is there a motion to approve those changes? Eliminate?
I'll take that one.
Motion made by Council Border, there's support. I'll support that. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.9, is tobacco license application for J-Way LLC DBA Hayden Bar and Grill, Mutter's Market Incorporated, and Edwards Oil Incorporated DBA Lucky Seven General Stores. Is there a motion to approve the tobacco license application? Motion made by Councilor Scott, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Kramer, is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.10, 2024 thank you, I wanted to say THC.
Yeah.
To be done with it, but cannabinoid license application, thank you. Clearing that up for me, for J-Way LLC DBA Haven Bar and Grill, Mutter's Market Incorporation, and Edward Oil Incorporation, doing business as Lucky Seven General Stores. Is there a motion to approve?
Make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Grams, is there support? Support that. Supported by Councilor Scott, is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.11, recommendation to hire seasonal Zamboni operators for the White Lakes Marina pending background checks.
And let's see, recommends, Recreation Director West recommends hiring Chad Olson, Kevin Lynch for seasonal Zamboni operators. They have not been employed by the city previously, so they will be eligible to begin work once background check has been completed.
And Chad's background check did come back today.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation to hire seasonal Zamboni operators? Chad Olson and Kevin Lynch.
Make that motion.
Motion made by Council Borgard. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Council Kramer. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Council Kramer. Is there support?
All support?
Supported by Council Grants. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?